Welcome back to Joyfully at Home. This week we are going to be making homemade half moon cookies. Now we live in a part of New York State where this type of cookie is considered, New York State is considered the birthplace of this type of cookie. We've had many from different bakeries and this is our version of it and I think you're going to enjoy it. Give it a try. For our half moon cookies, we're going to do the chocolate bottoms. And we start off with a half a cup of shortening. This keeps your cookie a little bit puffier and nice and soft. To that, we're going to add a cup of sugar. And we're going to go ahead and cream those two items together in our mixer. Now that you have your shortening and your sugar creamed together, we're going to add 1 large egg. And these again are our fresh eggs right here that we have. Any egg you use is fine as long as it's a large egg. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring the egg into our sugar and our shortening. Now that we have our shortening, our sugar, and our egg all creamed together, we're going to go ahead and add a cup of milk. And we're going to go ahead and blend that together. Now don't be alarmed when you see that your initial batter will have a slightly curdly look like this. It's perfectly fine and it will all come together once you put your dry ingredients in. This is actually just those little pieces of fat and the shortening being broken up so they can be completely distributed through the cookie, making for a very, very soft cookie. Now we're going to go ahead and start adding in our dry. We have 2 cups of flour. And again, this is to make the chocolate bottoms of the cookie. If you're one that prefers the half moon to have a vanilla bottom, you can go ahead and just add an additional half a cup of flour here where you're adding your 2 cups because you'll omit the half a cup of baking cocoa, which is exactly what we're going to put in now. A half a cup of baking cocoa. And now we're going to have a half a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon and a half of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then we're going to go ahead and we're blend all of our dry in together. Now that you have beaten your cookie batter all your ingredients together and you've combined them well, you're going to see that your cookie batter has a nice, thick, smooth texture. It's just a nice consistency. So then we'll take a tablespoon. You can use a cookie scoop. I like to use about a couple tablespoons. You can use a larger cookie scoop if you want. And you just drop onto parchment paper by spoonsful, just like that. And once you get a couple on here, your parchment won't slide too much anymore. You'll want to make sure that you keep at least 3 inches in between your cookies because they do get much larger and they will spread. So I'll just keep putting these on here. We'll get about 8 per pan and you'll get about 12 to 16 really nice size half moon cookies. Now that we have our cookies all on our parchment lined pan, as I say, you'll get 8, maybe 9 per pan. You'll get, depending on how big you make your cookies, you can get as few as 12, you can get as many as 16, maybe 18. And we'll go ahead and put them in our oven now. you make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and they'll go in that temperature oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. You'll know they're done. Just like with a cake, the cookie will spring just when you touch the top lightly, it'll just spring back to the touch, so you'll know it's done. We're going to go ahead and put these in to bake. Now we're going to go ahead and make our icing for the tops of our half moon cookies. We're going to start with a half a cup of butter, which is equal to 1 stick. That's already room temperature softened. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get that beat up a little bit so it'll incorporate into our powdered sugar nicely. And now that we have our butter, that we've beaten that up to make it smooth, we add in about a pound of powdered sugar. You can use a little more or a little less to your taste. A pound is generally about a half of a normal size bag of powdered sugar. We'll just put that all right in there. And to begin with, we're going to get our vanilla icing put together. Once we have that, then we will make our chocolate. We'll beat the powdered sugar and our butter together, and we'll drizzle in a little bit of milk as we go for a spreading texture. And start to drizzle a little bit of milk at a time. You'll see your icing start to come together. And this is your basic American buttercream. And at least once while you're mixing your buttercream, you'll want to stop and make sure that you take any powdered sugar that's hiding on the sides of your bowl and make sure it's right down in the bottom of your bowl to mix in with your butter and your powdered sugar well. All right, now as you can see, we used about a 1/3 cup of the milk to get it to a really nice spreading texture. It has a very nice smooth consistency. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take some of our vanilla icing out, reserve it, set it aside, and then we'll continue to make our chocolate. Now that we've taken about half of our vanilla icing out, we will add about a 1/3 of a cup of cocoa to the rest of our vanilla icing, and we'll start mixing to combine that nicely. Again, here, if you need a little extra milk to get your spreading texture back, to get a nice consistency, you can just add a little bit more milk. Again, you just want to take your spatula, make sure all your cocoa is nicely down in the bottom of your mixer, because it does like to stick to the sides a little bit while you're making icing, especially when you're making small batches like this for cookies. When you're not making a very large batch. Looks like we could use just a little bit more drizzle of milk. And then we'll mix it again and finish it up. And this is what you're going to have once you have both of your icings made. You're going to have a nice rich chocolate icing made with your cocoa powder and a vanilla icing. You'll have a color for each side, just as your traditional half moon has. And as soon as our cookies are cool, which you want to make sure your cookies are definitely cool or your icing will melt because this is a buttercream. Once your cookies are cooled, we'll go ahead and we'll frost them, and then you'll be able to enjoy your very own half moon cookies. Now that we have all of our cookies baked and they are cooled, as you can make sure that they're nice and cool to the touch, just room temperature cookies. What we're going to do is, as you can see, these are our bottoms of our cookie. What we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, take our icing that we made with either a knife or a spatula, whatever you happen to have handy. Take a little bit of each of our icing and frost our half moons. You'll do that for each of your cookies until you have them all frosted.